All right. Good afternoon, traders. Sorry for that delay. Had a little bit of a microphone problem. Fixed. I hope you should be able to hear me. My audio wasn't coming through. I had a little bit of a cord problem. You should be able to see my screen. All good, Randall says. Thank you, sir. Good to see you. Hello, LK. Wonderful Wednesday, Dennis. I agree. Okay. Welcome to the Tradespoon live trading room, stocks and options, closing bell. My name is Scott Beck, and I will be your host. Why am I qualified to be your host? Because I am the head trading coach here at Tradespoon. Also, because you asked, I have over 20 years of trading experience and over 16 years. Those slides are actually deficient of what my numbers actually are. Those are my qualifications. It's nice to meet you. If you're new, say hello, introduce yourself. Disclosures, here they are. Be careful out there, essentially. Okay, let's talk about it. What are we thinking here? I'll tell you right now, I actually feel pretty good. My market posture, I talk about that. It's a number I produce on a weekly basis, a composite of a number of different analyses that I conduct, score objectively, independently, without bias, without news, without just trying to give myself a comprehensive overview of the market. And I have said my numbers dropped. It's been dropping a little bit. It started dropping early, kind of gave me a little bit of a heads up that something was happening. I knew August and September historically aren't good. So I had managed to reduce much, if not all, of my risk. I had a couple of hedges. Yeah, they were okay. The hedging was interesting. Why? Because and I'll tell you this. I'm going to show you this. The VIX responded in an interesting way during the month of August, and it escalated, but it escalated in very calm and orderly fashion, which is not typical for the VIX, right? VIX being a fear indicator, typically we see it start to escalate. It expands to the upside. Didn't happen. Didn't happen. So the VIX, so the hedges never really played out, and then all of a sudden it recovered all the way back down 13, like boom, just like that. Okay, let's start looking at some things that people are like, what are you looking at? So let me move it over. Yahoo Finance, we're down now. You're like, well, you just said your posture increased. It did. My market posture is not my trading posture. My market posture is what am I thinking overall? Am I thinking more bullish, more bearish, more neutral? What kind of positions am I taking? How much risk am I taking? How long are my trades going to last? How aggressive am I going to manage the trades? Where am I going to look for my trades? All of the fundamental decisions that lead to then the trades that we execute on. That's our trade rules. That's our when do we buy? When do we sell? What's our stop? What's our target? Right? That's our trade rules. But fundamentally, I want all of this other stuff in place. So I'm keeping a pretty constant eye on it. Let's jump around. Let's go straight to Stella. So let's see what Stella thinks. I said that I've remained bullish throughout even August. It never dropped. It dropped lower, but it never went neutral or negative. Then it slowed down, and then I said last week, I even said I think it's going to jump. It did. Mine jumped. So I'm back into a more fully bullish perspective. Stella also is in a more fully bullish perspective, right? She says, hey, it's looking pretty good. We've had a bit of a consolidation. She was actually looking for a bullish day today. We actually still have more of a consolidation day today. I like that. I mean, all that does is just kind of shift this down a little bit, but still give us this read, right? That doesn't change. It's just how much consolidation, but overall, it is more of a perspective bullish. That's a bullish perspective. That is what the model is projecting. For the S&P, we'll go through them all real fast, right? Oops, I hate when I do that. Sorry. Toolbox. So I'd like to hear from the group. Give me a temperature check. Are you bullish? Are you bearish? Are you neutral? How are you feeling? QQQ. How are you trading? What are you trading? If you're like, I'm not in anything right now, be like, yeah, okay, makes sense. We'll talk about what we see. Here's the NASDAQ, the Qs, very bullish here as well. Here is the Dow. Well, a little more neutral here, but even as it says neutral, Martine says IWM bullish. Yep, we'll talk about that. Let's draw something. You know, I like to draw. I like to draw pictures. This is saying it still may be in consolidation mode, but still looking for a bullish kick. I would say that's neutral to bullish. I would say that my posture is somewhere in between, right? We have the NASDAQ and the Qs, which are like just look like this, and then we have this one that looks like this. I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm like, let's compromise. Maybe 2 more days of consolidation followed by the bullish kick. That's me right in the middle. I'm the voice of reason and peace and understanding. Neutral, Mark says, I believe. Neutral bearish down to 3rd week of October. Okay, I mean, look, there's some support for that theory in the cyclical. Maybe not quite into that much into October. Randall says neutral. So that's me. That's the S. I'm in the middle. I think we're still looking for that bounce. I'll show you why from price pattern from the charts. But let's look at the IWM as well. Look at how bullish that is. You're not wrong at all, Martine. IWM bullish. It had the, but again, right? It was looking for, the model may be off by a day or two. Are we going to have it right now into this immediate jump, or does this consolidation last just a little longer? A little longer consolidation isn't going to pull this down. The model's stronger than that. It's going to just shift this over. That's my prediction. There's some times where I'm surprised, but overall, that's what I would be looking for. What does this support? Support some bullishness in the short term, right? Okay. What else have we been seeing? China's slowdown is a top risk for the U.S. economy. I mean, they're a huge manufacturer. Look, everything's intertwined now, right? That's the interesting thing about the concept of like the global economy is so intertwined. Like no one can exist outside of the whole thing at this point. Stock slide as worries about inflation revive. So we have a little bit of an energy. We've seen that. We've been talking about the strength. The inflation from energy is a little bit more of a concern. That's about it, right? We have inflation. We have China slowdown. Our numbers are coming back fine. Let's look at the economic calendar. We actually have actual numbers coming out on Thursday. No, Wednesday. What day is today? Next week. Sorry. I'm a week ahead. I was looking at it. Next week on Wednesday and Thursday, we have CPI, core CPI. We have PPI. We have sales numbers like this. Wednesday and Thursday, which is interesting because, again, let me jump around. We are now 13 days and change from our next Fed. Well, it was actually earlier today. 14 days. I'm like, and change, and 23 hours. 14 days. And in 7 days, we get a slew of data. What is the market expecting? With all that data, even though there's some concerns, those concerns aren't enough for the Fed to raise rates because of some of the other concerns of economic slowdown, right? They're at that point where they have to kind of make these. So yeah, the market's looking for the Fed to leave it alone. Okay, anything else in the news that I'm missing? Tell me if there was something that's being talked about that I didn't talk about that we need to talk about. Everyone's good. We're all in the same place. Oh, that's interesting. Housing market for the next 5 years. I want to read that. I'm going to leave this up to, well, we're done here. So I'm going to come back to that. Interesting article. Came out. Didn't help. Jobless claims tomorrow. Really, we just have a bunch of Fed chairpersonages speaking. We may or may not get insight into rate policy. Nothing really on Friday, nothing on Monday. Optimism index, that's not really much of anything. It's not until like it's a little bit of Fed speak tomorrow, and then nothing until Wednesday. All right, so let's go take a look at the market itself. Did I miss anything? In the seasonal chart, the seasonal, actually, what's interesting is, we're still in line. This is said we may go on up a little bit. We may actually even from here go up a little bit more. This is our caution here, right? That's our caution, where all of a sudden it's like, whoa, something. So we're gonna be paying attention, looking for some signs that might indicate maybe just a little bit more inclined to a hedge trade. The more, if you start putting bullish trades on, which I think I probably will if we start to see bullish price action, we'll look at that in just a second. What this is telling me is this: hey, as in tune as I try to be for conditions that indicate there is a potential for disruption, if that potential strengthens, my inclination towards hedging has to go up, right? We have to be a little faster. Maybe the hedge is a little bigger. All right. Because what we're saying is we don't think we're out of the woods just yet. I know I've been told Vlad still he's got some concerns. Agreed. Look at it. This has been just so very spot on since about, well, I mean, pretty much the whole year, really, when you look at it, right? I mean, we have moved almost lockstep with the cyclical pattern. Is Apple going to dictate market direction for this week? It definitely has a lot to say, doesn't it? Okay, right? So this is certainly an important part of the puzzle here. Great. Now what? Now we put it all together. Now what? What do we trade? What are we trading? Okay, so let's get to the nitty-gritty of it. A little bit of buying pressure now. So it's been mostly selling all day, and then since the Fed, let's jump in. So since the Fed, I believe the base book maybe was released. Was it here? 1 o'clock? Was it released at 1 or not until 2? I don't know. Something right at 1. We got a turn, and it did a little bit of a V. Boom, boom. Higher high, higher low. So it looks like it's trying to regain some of this. Great. Look, this is all in line with an increased bullish perspective. What, for me, increased my bullish perspective? Somebody out there is asking that question. I can feel it. I can just know that. Now, right through here, you had this first little bit was questionable, but it did give a higher low. This is absolutely a higher low. But that's pretty early. So if you didn't trade that higher low gave a little bit. I had a couple of bullish trades on in there. We got this nice little push, right? And then we have what? Well, clearly it's broken the consolidation. Clearly it's gone above the last high. So that is a higher high. And this is just price action analysis. We're not looking at any indicators, but you'll notice that when we got a higher high, I take that back. We will look at indicators. When we got that higher high, we got what? We got this. We're overbought, taking profit on bull trades, being patient, waiting for what? Waiting for the pullback. The buyers clearly did enough for us to think, yep, they look like they're back in control. But just to be safe, what do we want to see? We want to see the selling cycle. This is the selling cycle here. Now, it could have come down for 2 more days. And I'd have been like, yep, higher low. I still like it. But it's done 3 days. It's a bull flag, if you notice. We're close. This could turn around tomorrow, and you'd have to make some decisions. Am I trading that? Or it could give us a doji tomorrow, and you think I'm one more day away, and then we get a trade possibly on Friday. But what we have here is a slowdown of the sellers. The sellers have the cycle. You can see it in the stochastics. You can see it in the candles. The sellers have the last 3 days. They have the cycles. They have the floor. Right? Are they coming in with big volume? No. In fact, the volume is declining into the sell-off. Oh, well, looky. Look what we have here. What does that tell us? It tells us the strength of the sellers. Are we thinking they're done? At least for now we are. Now remember, we said that we might think that we have a bounce here, and then all of a sudden we run into something crazy. This is our little bit of a danger zone. If I could map this out for you visually, this last little dip late September, this is where we have some concern. So if this happens and I'm able to take some profits, and especially if the VIX gets low, I'll put some puts on and see if this thing drops. But overall, I'm not expecting it, right? I'm just saying we've moved uncannily in line, in correlation with that. So let's be aware of it. Everything supports a bullish move right now. That's why I'm in this mindset. I've got a number of stocks across a number of industries. What industries? Technology, led by Apple, consumer discretionary, industrials, financials, right? Communication services seems a little off. So those are the ones, and even within technology and within financials, it's hit or miss. So you definitely want to be careful. But this is what I'm looking at that says, yeah, at any time. Now you can see this is coming down. So could we be a couple of days away? Yeah, I don't want to rush it, but I will probably take a few early trades because there are things starting to show up. Remember, the S&P is the composite. That means some things are going to go early, some things will go with it, some things will go late. So as we see a window sitting up here, we're kind of thinking there's 3 days, maybe 4 days before and after creating a window around the S&P signal. So if you think the S&P is close, you're probably already getting signals in other parts of your watch list. And you'll get things when it fires, and then you'll have maybe a couple things come late. So you have the ability to spread it out, decide how much risk. They're going to be across different sectors. Right? That's what we're thinking when we have a trade window coming our way the way we do now, right? It's like you're a surfer and you see it coming, you're starting to turn your board, you got to start paddling a little bit to get going, and then you prepare for it, come into it. Let me know if you have any questions about my take on all of this. Let's get a quiz. Let's get a quiz. The buyers continue to come in, we can see. And let's draw. Let's zoom in first. It's quiet. You guys are quiet today. We should be getting excited. There's good things developing. Let's go here and here. Okay. A, B, C. ABC. With 446.20 or above, you're an A. 445.25. So it's about $1 range. 445.25 and below, you're a C. Between 445.25 and 446.20, you are a B. I've got 3 A's. Oh, it's light. We're light today. I'm surprised. I feel like, the market's kind of showing. Let me show you if you're curious. I know that some of you know what I'm talking about with this. This is what as anyone else want to answer? I'm going to get the Stella all A's today. Interesting. Okay. From a long-term standpoint, I think the market looks stronger than it has because we finally saw it turn up. So that is the August gave us the consolidation. It's turned from, I like that even more so. The short-term trend looks a little better. The volume still negative, but looks a little better. Major market and sector rotation are both positive. They look a little bit the same. They look unchanged. Carmen says she's an A, another A. Ted says he's a C. All right, now we got something going. She says, is the VIX tradable? Yes, you can trade options on the VIX. The VIX is just an index, but just like the SPX is an index, and you can trade index options, they do have index options. But for me personally, because it is just that inverse correlation that is helping me to read SPY, and because SPY has the greatest market for options in the history of options, right? The most liquidity, the most volume, the tightest spreads. Everything about the SPY to me is favorable. Whatever I see on the VIX is going to help me confirm what I see on the SPY, and I'm going to trade it on the SPY. They're just inversely interchangeable with each other. Okay, what else? The VIX got much better. We let's go look at that. Do I have everybody? All right, I have everybody. I'm going to give you mine. I'm going to go B. I'm taking the B, solo B. It's going to just kind of fizzle out and end up around 445, 70. That's mine. Anyone else want to get it in before the window closes? Usually when conditions, it's funny because I watch webinar attendance, and when the market's good, everyone's coming, and when the market starts getting choppy, people stop. It's like they like, oh, I don't want to have to talk about it, or take some losses. They're in some bad trades, which is funny because I would actually want the opposite. Like when it's bad, get in here and let's have group therapy. Let's talk about it, right? When it's good, it's like, hey, throw a dart, man. Everything's good. Throw some trades on. It's good. It's easier, but we'll see. I think we have a great opportunity going back to this after we get out of that, whatever this late September to October. We've got this October, November, December. I very much would love to participate in this. So if we can maintain this correlation and we can see the market, there's nothing in the numbers, at least as of yet, that indicate we shouldn't expect this. So there you go. Ted says zero sum. One man's good, another one's bad. It's got to go that way. Right? My stack only grows if someone else's stack goes down. It's a jungle out there. All right. Back to it. Let's change this back out, and then we'll get to the watch list because I think we have some great opportunities. I just don't think we're going to find. Look at this. Are the sellers slowing down for today? Yes. Are we still down 0.75%? Is it still more selling pressure? Are we sure we want to? We want to be more early signals, right? If you're saying, hey, I think it's going to hold the 50. Great. Maybe you put it, but I don't think you're going to have much confirmation for bullish trades as of right now. That's my thought process. Here's the VIX. Oh, yeah, look at that. VIX looking to make a lower high. Tested this level here. I've been drawing a line across this area right around where that 50 is. It's turned up, but it just doesn't look strong. Yeah. Is it fear? Yeah, it's come up a little. We're at 14.5. Right. So our thought here is that if this just sort of come up and meanders around, and then comes down, what do we have? We have a high, we have a lower high, we have a lower high with an expectation then that this is going to keep. Oh, man, if we find ourselves near 12 coming into October, November, that'll be a lot of fun. We'll do some calendar spreads. I've been thinking about actually. So Carmen asked about trading the VIX. I've been thinking about a strategy when the VIX is down around 12 that would actually trade the VIX. I have to go back to my notes because I thought about, here's what's so funny. If I could have a minute of your time to discuss this. If anyone was with me 3+ years ago in the pandemic, right? Like in the pandemic, I started having some like crazy volatility epiphanies. And I'm like, oh, you guys, I'm like, you guys, listen to this. And it was a strategy, but it was like only if and when the VIX got back to 12. So this is the deal. It's like we're meandering around 25 to 40. I'm like, if it ever gets back to 12, I completely forgot. And then all of a sudden, even now we got to 15. It's just like, and now we're getting close. And I'm like, you know what? I got to dust that off. I've got some tests. I feel good about it. So anyways, exciting things are going on here. This looks good. I'm feeling like the institutions are showing us confidence. That's what this is indicative of, if that's what happens, right? We don't know yet. We're not convinced. They're still going up. But we're saying this could be very close to, it might not go that high. We might see this thing turn around and envelop tomorrow and be like, that's it. That's the lower high. And there might even be trades that, as you see this developing, you're willing to put on in an anticipatory fashion. So yeah, cool. Let me VXX. Oh, VXX definitely has options. I don't like them personally. The VXX is VXX is a stock. VXN is okay. So let's get into it for just a minute. VXX is an ETF that tracks the VIX using index futures, which creates a contango problem, which means it's always more bearish. And I really am not a big fan of, if you're going to, right? So that's one thing. VXN is the volatility index for the NASDAQ, VIX and VIXN, VXN. VIX for the S&P, VXN for the NASDAQ. VXD for the Dow. Oh God, I haven't looked at it. VXR. What's the Russell? I can't remember the Russell now. Sorry. But each index, just like every stock, has implied volatility at the bottom of the screen. Every index has a calculation. The big ones are tradable, right? So you can trade index options. So if you notice here, this is the VIX. The VIX has implied volatility. Only instruments with implied volatility. If you ever pull up options, or if you ever pull up a stock that doesn't have implied volatility on the chart, that's a quick, easy indication that tells you they don't have options, right? You're like, oh, they don't have options. They don't have implied volatility. This has implied volatility. So, anyways, off on a huge tangent here. The bottom line for me is we're at lows. It looks like the confidence is actually getting stronger. We know that institutions still have plenty of money. So, anyways, let's get to did we get through everything? Did I answer questions? We looked at the VIX. We looked at the S&P. I think we just need to get to our watch list and start talking about building a list of potential trades setting up. Okay. See, now this is a little concerning. I hadn't looked at this for a little bit, obviously, since this morning. Concerning, but not disruptive yet. I don't love to see a big 4.25% selling day. This is, I think, based on China data, which is problematic, right? However, low. We didn't hold the 50 yet. This could come back and hold the 50 by the end of the day. I don't think it will. And finds itself on top of the 50 and holds. And this comes down here and turns. Would that still be viable? Yes. Right? We can have a heavy reaction and recover from it. We had a pretty nice little pop here. Pretty nice little pop to a higher high to get back on top of the 50. China prohibits government employees from bringing iPhones to work. Oh, so they're thinking then that's going to have a huge diminishment of. Do you think that means they're going to buy less iPhones or more like little garbage burner phones that they take with them to work, and then they have their iPhones at home and socially and on the go? I don't know. I mean, what's the logic behind that? China's got to stop prohibiting and micromanaging. They've micromanaged themselves into a pretty sticky situation right now that can, shake the world economy, right? Okay, look, we're again, like I said, I'm not expecting there to be a trade today. I'm here to assess the sellers. What do I see here? Well, right now I see too much selling pressure. I see a big candle on above average volume, but I'm open to be convinced over the next few days and see a potential trade in Apple early next week. There you go. I'm curious what the model saw. I would say, I'm not even going to venture to guess. I mean, obviously it doesn't know what happened today, but let's see what it saw. Sideways consolidation. Certainly not that. I mean, that was pretty big. It was news, obviously. So how are you going to see that? The question is, what's the result? What's the implication? Okay, let's go through it. Aflac. So what I'm looking for, right? These are a lot of stocks that I've been watching that were very bullish during this last pop because they did well, and I got used to trading them, and for no other reason that they had good liquidity to begin with. These are ones I'm going to keep watching. What am I watching for? I'm watching for this. This is just not that convincing, right? If it comes down and makes a higher low, would that be a little convincing? Maybe, but the question is, do I need something that is working to convince me, or are there other insurance or financial based trades? So I'm going to hold off and be like, yeah, I might find something better, right? So we're not looking to force trades just because we got more bullish. AI, same thing. AI is not there for technology. This is lower lows, lower highs. We don't see anything that says the bulls have taken control. It's just sitting down below. Wait, be patient, be convinced. AIG, I mean, you can see this one is kind of funky. It did sort of meander its way higher, and then it pulled back, and all of a sudden it's popping, and it seems like it's trying to turn. I don't know. That's not interesting to be like, oh, what should I do? I might throw it off my list just because it doesn't seem to be showing any consistency in its movement. Applied Materials, love it. It's in its consolidation. Let's be patient. Does it stay like this and turn for a flag? Does it go a little bit more down, come near this 50-day? I'm open to the possibilities, but the chips are definitely from the technology on my list of sectors that I'm interested in. Amazon, I'm okay with this still. In fact, one of the reasons why, look at your volume, right? We had this consolidation. Here it comes. It popped through there. And the good news on this pop here, which clearly got higher than this one, there was volume on that pop. A little bit of extra oomph that said, oh, look at that. Look at buyers. We didn't trade. I don't trade the breakout. Why? Because exactly what happened. It took a lot to break out. Now it's tired. The buyers are tired. They took a break. Here come the sellers. What are the sellers doing? Less. Nothing above average. Decreasing. All I'm looking for, again, there's all these things here. The consolidation line, the old low, the 50-day moving average. I'm just looking to see if this thing can find some support and turn before that. That's the higher low that I'm talking about. That says the sellers are no longer here. We can now resume expectations for a trend to develop, right? Every good trend that developed came with a reversal signal that looked somewhat like this. Now, every reversal signal doesn't mean it's going to be a good trend. But if it's going to start, it's going to look like this. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for this thing to give me the sellers are done. Here's the buyers. When the buyers come in, that's what creates our trigger. What's triggering you to take a trade? The model might help, where it says, hey, when I get this sign here, I'm in. It might have to cross a certain price threshold. You might need your stochastics or your MACD or your RSI or whatever indicator you use to turn. It might give you a certain candle. There's any number of different signals. There's no right or wrong. There's just different signals that say, here's how much the buyers did. You might go to an hourly chart instead of a daily chart to say, hey, once I'm ready with my setup, as soon as I'm convinced the buyers are there, I want to go. Right? The more bullish I am, the more likely I am to jump. I'm more bullish than I was, but there's still some caution. So I want to see some confirmation here. I want to see the buyers demonstrate that they're coming back in. Tomorrow, maybe Friday. I think somewhere once it comes, I think it will be a 3-day window where trades start developing, forming. We'll have time. And even then you have day 4 and 5 possibly where you switch over to like a Heikin-Ashi and you kind of turn it more into a continuation trade where you know you're going to tighten your stop day by day. There's plenty of strategies for us to move into something like this. But the stochastics are high. Yes, they are. That's okay, right? This was your stochastics all during that. The stochastics is the last thing, right? It's the last thing. And all I'm looking for is really a momentum shift. It doesn't need to be down here. It was only down there one time. The rest of the time we had to trade price action, right? So, but what I am looking for is momentum. It might come down into this region, though. We can see that happens regularly. And when it comes down there, I'm ready for it to turn to help me get that final go ahead. Does that make sense? Let me know if anyone has any questions about that. But that's what we're looking for. What number on implied volatility gets you to do something? It's not that it gets me to, but how. I only get down to implied volatility if these 3 tell me I'm looking for a trade. I come down here to say how. How am I going to take that trade? If it's up in this 40 or higher, I'm definitely selling something that's high implied volatility. The options are expensive. If it's down here in this 30 area, options are cheap. That's as cheap as they've been. I'm buying them. I'm buying calls. I'm buying them. I love buying cheap. I'm still going to be like 7 to 10 days. I'm not really worried about, right? If you looked at my top 10 best trades, 8 out of 10 are buying short-term out of the money options, right? When they're cheap. So yeah, that's what it's going to do is help me figure out what. So what does stochastic tell us? Stochastics can help us with overbought, oversold. For me, it's more a momentum indicator, right? Is it more likely to turn when it gets, right? We when it got up here, we said it's more likely, but it's already started to turn. We're no longer worried about the fact that it got overbought because it's already moving the other way. It might not come all the way back down here. It might only come halfway down and then turn like that or like that, right? Or, right? So there's any number of times where it comes down and it doesn't go all the way down, but it's still a great opportunity to catch a trade signal. Bam. And then you get a good trade out of it. Does that make sense? So the oscillator, 95% of my analysis is done by the time I look at the oscillator. That's just kind of the final little bit. Hey, does this make sense? Are we all in line? Yeah, we're good. But it's not like when something goes on a bullish run, it'll get overbought and stay overbought and stay overbought and stay overbought. And if you're like, oh, it's overbought, it's just going to keep running. Momentum. That's what we're looking for. Okay. What time is it? 1:44. Where am I? Bees. I think we're okay. Boeing. So here, Boeing was okay for me until today. Now I'm starting to get concerned. Why? Because we're all the way back down. That's almost right. It's like, it's still a little bit, maybe, well, actually, no, it kind of, you can see is right back into the consolidation. So it's like we were wondering, are the sellers going to, at this point, I would say no, it doesn't look like it. It looks like it's a little too far. Some people are like, well, it's the same low, it's support. The buyers didn't come in. This is where they needed to come in, but they didn't have an opportunity. It didn't work. No go. So, all right. We do still want to be a little picky, right? How about this one, BLDR? That's much better, right? It broke the consolidation. It's come down, and now it looks like it's still coming down here. And for all we know, tomorrow it might give us this. So just because the candle's up doesn't necessarily mean it's a go yet. We're waiting to see if this thing turns. That's the momentum shifting. That's what the stochastics tells us in that regard. Momentum shifting. And so if we see that, it's going to shift. And then we say, okay, great. You know what? Now I think this thing has a chance to run on up to there. Put my stop here. I'll tighten my stop as it goes. Catch myself a little trade before I get to that late September unknown and be maybe a little more cautious. If we break down through 4 to 32, do I go short? Let me, the SPY is on the list. Let me just run through the watch list till I get there. I will definitely answer that question. BLDR is on my list, though. I like the way that looks. BX, this thing still needs to pull back, but I'm looking for it, right? I'm looking for it. Caterpillar. You can see how Caterpillar and BLDR are standing out above Boeing. They've had the same kind of a breakout, but these guys are only pulling back a little bit, and we're looking for them to turn. This may not get very low. Just like it didn't get very low there, and look what a great trade came out of that. Same scenario. We popped up, we pulled back, higher low. That's a great looking trade, right? Although actually I would say this one was viable because that was technically a higher low from back here. Yeah, right. I think Caterpillar looks great. It's on my list. You're welcome to join me. CPRT, that one's still kind of like hovering at resistance. CVE, that's at resistance. It needs to pull back. The Dow actually, if you like trading blue chips, looks pretty reasonable. It got through the 50, but that's okay because we barely got to the upside of the 50. This needs to hold. It already has. What would I look for, though? It's got to turn. It hasn't turned yet. All it's doing is starting to slow down a little. That's not a signal. DraftKings, that could be a signal. Right? That could be a signal. We had a nice pop-up, a little bit of a consolidation. We're breaking out of it. Your stochastics is turning. You might even have a hike in SE. Let me see if I can get that up. You do. Well, that's a nice one. You got a little bit of a momentum candle coming out. Stop 29.34. About $1 worth of risk. Can this thing make a move to 34, 35, where you're getting $4 or $5 off of that dollar of risk? Yeah, absolutely so. Okay, it's like I said, you're going to start to see some things that are giving you early confirmation, and it is doing it in an already overbought situation. So you have to be comfortable with that, or you might say I'm not, and you don't take that trade. Great. Whatever we're trading to match our mentality, our psychology. There are certain trades that I don't make, right? Flex looks great, right in the middle, right? This one has pulled back, but it's holding up right on top of that 50. That's a great looking setup for an opportunity there. Flex. That's on my list of things that at any day, could be tomorrow, easily, right? GLD, I'm not going to trade it, but it does look like it's setting up. IBM at resistance needs to pull back. Some things are still at resistance. We need to wait. They might be mid to or early to mid next week. Some things might start firing tomorrow. We might get tomorrow, Friday, might be Monday, Tuesday. But right now, if you notice, most of what we're looking at is either a small potential of a consolidation for something that just had a bullish move, or things that just had a bullish move and are already consolidating, where we're looking for them to stabilize and see if the buyers come back. Either way, we're waiting, right? For the most part. IWM, small caps, absolutely. Look at that. Breakout, higher high, pull back, looking for the higher low right through here. We don't want to see it come any lower, right? We'd like to see it catch over the next day or two. Small caps. If small caps are participating, the overall rally has better opportunity. JPM, nothing for us. It's still going down, right? Hopefully these patterns that I'm trying to describe are standing out where you can see, look, that's just clearly under that same consolidation route. There's nothing here where we're like, oh, now you'll notice this is oversold, but we don't even care about that. Why? Because it's still in the line. I'm not like, oh, I'm going to try to call the bottom of this. I haven't seen the buyers do anything since this little run here. Since that, it's just been little ticky-tacky days of buying, and then it's all the way back down. Let's be patient. Be convinced. Meta, that just doesn't look convincing. Am I right? It just kind of looks like it's in a grind, but not like, oh, the bulls have really tried to take control of this. That's where I am. MPC, finally it broke out. Morgan Stanley, I still consider this viable. If it stabilizes from here and turns, I would consider it. I'm just saying. Microsoft kind of looks like Meta to me. So it's funny because now Apple's a little bit in jeopardy. So that could put the whole thing in jeopardy. Let's be honest. I mean, if Apple and Microsoft can't really figure some things out, as it seems, that's going to make it much more difficult. Now we do have, technology, or outside of technology, we do have financials looking better. We do have consumer discretionary. We do have industrials. It's just, you always would rather have technology there to indicate the breadth, and sustainability is there's a higher probability of it. It looks reasonable, although it's coming off of a lower high, so it's not super exciting. Netflix, I like Netflix. It broke out. It's at a higher high. It's at resistance. Give me a pullback to 425, and we'll make a deal. Netflix, you and I will become friends. Nvidia, I said I'm looking for a pullback here. I'm working off of not this one. I'm kind of looking at this as all the same. I'm willing to give it this with the 50. So if it can come in here and it even if it tests a little bit, it holds. I'm okay if it gets into this same range, right? I'm saying that because I want to make sure that I don't, like, when the time comes, you're like, oh, you're just trying to convince yourself of a trade. No, I've preemptively, because of the way that one candle kind of set things up in a funky way. If you eliminate this candle here, this still moves in a pretty steady pace to that, right? So that to me is more indicative, even though it did kind of take a weird path to get there. That's why. So I'm not really looking at that as having been a low, but all the same, one path up. Anyway, just thought you'd be curious. Like, sometimes I think it's like reading rules where you're like, I before E except after C. And you're like, well, what about this? And you're like, oh yeah, that's true. So I'm not being inconsistent. I'm just saying in this regard, there's a specific reason why that's not. Other times I would say that's the low. I'm pretty specific with my highs and lows. OXY, looking for the consolidation, but we do see strength in energy and oil. So I think we should, and it has a tendency to move outside of the market. So that provides us with opportunity. I don't like Pulte right now. I do like PLTR. That one is enticing for an anticipatory trade, or maybe early tomorrow. Kind of popped out back here, holding, trying to turn right there, right? You can see it. I'm looking for it. I like it. What are you guys trading in? Are you watching similar stuff to me? Are you in bullish trades? Are you looking for bullish trades? Are you looking for bearish trades? Here's the cues coming down. So, all right, we got some time to see if this thing does another couple of days and still holds at the 50. Nothing wrong with that. RCL, there's nothing there. It's just in this little bit of, like, give me a break. Then give me a test. Then we like it. Then we're like, okay, let's do business together. SMCI. So this one actually gave a signal. It popped up. It pulled back. Same kind of thing PLTR is doing. Made a little bit. You made a little bit of money there. Not much, but good trade. Now what? It's kind of stuck for the time being. So I'm a little bit less inclined to something like that. Here's SPY. Where am I concerned? The number mentioned was 432. 432 is down in what's that, about right here ish? I mean, yeah, that would be concerning for sure. I would actually think that if we did get a bullish bounce out of this, and then we had some crazy like late September drop, maybe it tests. Maybe it's like 1, 2 down, tests it there, and then takes off. And it ends up that August and September just kind of give us this sideways like double dip, consolidation. Never really went 10%, only like 6 or 7. That's my thought. So yeah, if it broke 32, I'm wondering, number one, if we get a double dip, do we get some VIX escalation there? Because if so, I would probably put some puts on that. Yeah, I would, but I would say 432. That's a pretty good line in the sand. I like where your head's at with that one. I would agree. My posture would absolutely. I mean, look, I dropped from a 5 to a 1.75 through this area, so I would imagine a similar thing would probably happen. I would see it to some extent and definitely be cautious. And then if it did break, I'd be much more concerned. Well, I've got 4 minutes. I don't have that much left. SYF, financials, still down. Nothing there for us. Tesla, still consolidating. Nothing there for us. UPS, off the table. Off the table. In fact, I'm not even going to watch it anymore. You can see it tried to give a breakout. That's a failed consolidation breakout right there. That's why we wait to see the next. That's not convincing. It's can it hold in here? And it didn't. It just kept falling. It's not convincing. We have no interest in it. It's off the list. Just that easy. Upstart, nothing there still. Waiting. Somebody has to make the first move. Here's the VIX. Looks fine. Here's W. I like this. Here's a consumer discretionary like Amazon, waiting for this pullback. I'm a opportunist in that range, probably, I would say, ideally. So you can see we have some industrials, we have some financials, we have some consumer discretionary. Still have a little bit of technology here or there, a little bit of AI, maybe, a little bit of chips, maybe software, but we're a little more concerned with what's going on in the technology ranks. Wells Fargo. What's our interest in Wells Fargo? None. There's no interest there. Nothing's happened. There's no buyers. CVS put. I'm reluctant with puts right now. I'll be honest, right? I'm reluctant with puts. I'd say too late. We're you maybe have I'd be reluctant to think anything below testing this low before it runs into some problems. Here's WMB. That doesn't look great. So for an energy company, I would say I'm sticking to CVE, XOP, XLE. Here's the ETF. That looks good on a pullback. You can see XLF starting to pull back. We're looking for the higher low for the indication that sector's regaining favor. Same thing with this. Looking for it to stabilize and turn. If it can't stabilize, we're going to lose confidence, right? Right now, it's still okay because it's above both. But if it comes much lower and if it gets down underneath this level where we're there, we've lost confidence and industrials will be off the table for me. Although I would finish managing any trade I might have put on. XLP is at new lows, no interest, and also no defensiveness. XLU, no interest, no defensiveness. That's good to see for us to be bullish. XOP looks great, but it's overbought, looking for the pullback. And lastly, but not leastly, as I get in the last 20 seconds, I'm gonna squeeze it in, you guys. I don't know. I just don't love it. I was looking for a consolidation, but now it seems to be basing. So I think I'm gonna be more of a spectator on that one. Do the A's win? Let's go see. Dun, 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 dun. What did it have to get to? 446. 446. Wait a second. It was 446.20, right? 446.20. I'm at 446.14. I actually think it's the B's. I think it was 445.25. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. 445.25 by 444.20. And we're at 446. 446. I'm sorry, 446.20. I'm giving it to the B's. The B's have it. Who was a B, anyways? Does anyone know? Oh, wait, it was me. Yeah. Sorry, everyone. Sometimes you just catch it right at the last second. Let's see when it happened. Right. It was, look at that. Just that. It was up here. The A's were winning. And then it handed me the victory. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Market's looking better. Let's be ready. Right? Let's be ready. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you guys Friday morning. Don't be mad that I have that gold medal. It's been a while for me. I deserve it. As always, happy trading.